All right. It is a fantastic Flex Friday. Shout out to everybody out there who's joining me, my PrizePicks players, my underdog players, my sportsbook bettors. Appreciate everybody who's looking for some MLB action today. Hopefully everybody's 4th of July yesterday was a good one and you had plenty of fireworks wherever you celebrated from. Lots of MLB games today, and the weather doesn't look too shabby either, so I'm kind of excited about that. So we should have a good day for baseball. Hopefully, again, we don't get any rainouts or anything like that. We're looking for clear skies, and we're looking for big prizes. All right, clear skies and big prizes. Appreciate everybody for rocking with me today. If you're in the live chat, say what's up. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know where you're representing. Let me know if you're pumped up for some baseball. Let me know how your 4th of July went. And if you got any big plans for the weekend, let me know that too. I see my guy Everyday Fantasies out there watching. Appreciate you joining me this morning, this afternoon, wherever you may be watching from. Wesley Winston, he's flexing. You got to flex back at him when they flex at you. So I appreciate you, Mr. Wesley Winston, a.k.a. our guy Dub in Discord and Dub Club. Speaking of Dub Club, if you're not a Dub Club member yet and you want to go for a 3-day free trial, or maybe you want to take things further, well, we've got different options for you. You can get a 3-day free trial of Dub Club, and then it's just 67 cents per day. We're posting different picks, plays, parlays, stats, information, research. We're sharing, because sharing is caring in our community. And so if you're looking for a group of people who are like-minded, who are trying to get to the bag each and every day, we got that set up for you via Dub Club. So click the Dub Club link in the live chat or in the description. If you're watching the replay of today's video, you can use the description. There's a link for Dub Club there. Come win more together. All right? Got it. Who else we got in here? My man Yosemite Graham says today will be the day. Shout out to you, man. I love the positive energy, love the attitude. You flex, I flex back. That's the rules. Ash is in the building, says hope my flex Friday isn't $5. Yeah, I don't know why PrizePicks started doing that. At one point we were getting what, $25, and then I think it went to $20. Now for some people it's only $5 protected plays on PrizePicks. Kind of weird. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know why some people get 5, some people get 25. Makes no sense. I have no idea, no insight, no reason as to why that happens. But my guy Tony Ruiz in the building. Shout out to you. He says, welcome in, take a seat, hit that like button and print some money. Man, those all sound like very wise life choices right there. I like all those things you're telling people to do. Who else we got in here? Yee's in the building. Of course, he says Yee. Why wouldn't he? I mean, it just makes perfect sense. Everyday Fantasy, my guy Don P. If you're in Dub Club in Discord, you know all about Don P. Don P's dropping those plus EV slips each and every day. Shout out to Don P. Armando says, CJ, late to the stream like Roaring Kitty. Hey, that's all right. You ain't late. You're right on time, baby. We're just getting started. We're warming up. So you haven't missed anything just yet. James is in the building. He lives in Tampa, but is in Atlanta today. Yay, I can flex. James, congratulations. As you know, I also live in Tampa, and I cannot flex. We cannot flex here in the sunshine state of Florida. So unfortunately, we've got to stick to the power plays if you're playing on PrizePicks. 4-pick power plays is the best we can do. So we'll put together a couple of slips. Hopefully they're winning slips. We'll see what we got. But if you can flex, depending on where you're residing, where you're located at the moment, maybe you're like James and you're just visiting a state like Georgia where you can flex, I would highly recommend you flex. Probably a 5-pick or 6-pick flex is going to be your best bet. Typically, when we're talking about plus EV plays, optimal entry sizes on PrizePicks, that's probably what you want to do. TJ's in the building. How did last Friday's slip do? I missed. I'm not sure. I think we actually talked about maybe 3 to 4 different. I had 3 to 4 different slips. I know one of the slips ended up being a 10x though. Remember, I can only make 4-pick plays, 4-pick max based on where I live here in Florida due to their Prize Picks arena restrictions. And so I had at least one 4-pick power play that went for a 10x. I don't know about the other slips, but I don't know. Just depends on the picks you picked, I guess. But that was a long time ago. That was that last Friday or 2 Fridays ago? I don't even remember at this point. But anyway, it's a blur. IMAX says Oceanside, East Coast, Canada. Wow, Canada, stand up. Good to see you. Armando, Pine Hills, Florida. All right. Peyton's in the building. Yo, what's up, Peyton? Contavious says, what's up? What's up back at you, Contavious? Thanks for being here. Long time no see. Rice Smith says, it will be a great day. I'm the GOAT. No, you're the GOAT. Appreciate you being here, Yee. Jeremy says, what's up, CJ? It's JP Betts 215. Jeremy, a.k.a. JP Betts. Shout out to you. Thank you for watching live. Appreciate it. Easus is in the building. What's up, CJ? Just joined the Discord. Yeah, link to the Discord, link to the Dub Club, link to anything that you see as far as tools, as far as, anything that comes across your screen, Prize Picks referral codes, underdog referral codes. I got links to everything in the description of today's video. So just go down there if you're looking for links to stuff that we're talking about. All right. So what do we have going on here? Now that we got over 50 people watching, guys, if you could hit the like button and share the live stream, share the show with somebody out there who's looking for some action today, who's looking to fire up some picks on today's Flex Friday live stream here for Prize Picks. Share the stream with somebody, hit the like button for me so that YouTube recommends this to more people. We get more eyeballs on it. We get more viewership. Appreciate all the love and engagement that you guys help bring to the channel. Let's see here. How many games we got? We got one weird little one-off cast-off early bird game, the Los Angeles Angels Chicago Cubs. That one's going to start at 2:20 p.m. Eastern time, so we got a few hours before that one begins, but that's the only early game. I feel like MLB really missed an opportunity here to bless us with all-day baseball like they did yesterday for 4th of July. July 5th, I think they could have blessed us with an all-day MLB slate. But hey, we'll take the one early game. Then we got to wait till 6:40 p.m. Eastern time for the rest of these games to begin. But we got a total of 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 baseball games today. So there's lots of different ways that we could go here, folks. And of course, outside of MLB, there's WNBA that you could get your feet wet. And I think there's esports going on, some tennis, some PGA, lots of different ways, lots of different things you can dabble with on this Flex Friday as we look to the NFL season, which will be, a month or two from now? A little under 2 months, a little over a month and a half or so. I think we start getting some NFL action. So definitely looking forward to some football. But for now, it's baseball. Let's take a look at the weather real quick because weather is definitely a key and crucial piece of information, thing that you need to consider each and every day. If you're betting on baseball, you need to be looking at the weather reports. As far as any crazy weather conditions, everything looks pretty good so far. The Angels-Cubs game is going to be windy. It looks like the wind is actually blowing out, which is great if you're a hitter. So if you're an Angels hitter, if you're a Cubs hitter with the winds blowing out at 15 miles per hour, that's going to cause the ball to carry a little bit further, to travel farther than it typically would. So that's a bump up to the bats or the hitters. That's a bump down to your starting pitchers. Not so good news. You don't want that ball carrying further if you're a starting pitcher for the Angels or the Cubs. So that's the early game, the 2:20 p.m. Eastern time game. Outside of that, what else do we have? We got the Mets and Pirates, some scattered showers and storms in the area. Could be a potential delay. Delays are not good, especially if you're taking overs on starting pitchers from those games with potential weather issues, because if a game gets into a rain delay and that pitcher or pitchers gets pulled out of the game and they're waiting for that rain to clear, sometimes more often than not, you will see that the managers won't put those starting pitchers back in the game, unfortunately, and that will be a shortened night for those starting pitchers. So you got to be careful taking overs on pitchers, especially in games that could potentially run into a rain delay. So be careful if you're playing any pitcher overs in games with rain. Outside of that, we got the St. Louis Cardinals, Washington Nationals, few showers, an isolated storm. Again, a delay is possible, but the game should play in its entirety based on the weather that we're seeing right now as of about 11 a.m. Eastern time. Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees, scattered showers. The rain's not expected to get particularly heavy. Late start is possible, so they might push the start of this game back a little bit. but there could be some rain here or there, but it won't be a full-on postponement, most likely. Of course, Mother Nature can take on a life of its own, and things can change. So keep on top of these weather reports. You got a green/yellow rating for the Tigers and the Reds. Enough rain to mention that there's a bit of rain around, but probably not enough rain to cause any issues. You got a yellow-green for the Giants and Guardians. Showers early. Could be another one of those games where there's a late start, but nothing worse than that. And then, of course, a yellow-green for the Philadelphia Phillies and the Atlanta Braves. Like Cleveland, in that any action would be early as far as rain action goes. Chance for a late start. Wouldn't expect anything beyond that. So there you go. That's kind of your weather report as of right now. Like I said, a little after 11 a.m. Eastern time. Stay on top of this stuff because things can change with the weather. And again, you want to be careful taking too many overs from games where there could be rain delays. So just a piece of information, a little tidbit for you to consider as you're building out some slips here for Prize Picks and for Flex Friday. All right, we got the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer pulled up. Now, what is this tool? For some of you guys, this is the first time you've ever heard of this thing. What is the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer? Well, basically, it goes out and it scans different sports books like Pinnacle, FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM, Caesars. You got Bet Online. You got Fliff, which is kind of like a pseudo sports book, sweepstakes, DFS site, whatever they want to call themselves. But anyway, the optimizer goes out and it looks at all these different sites and it looks at the odds. In other words, is the juice over? Is the juice under? And then it strips out the juice or the VIG. And then it gives you basically true odds, fair odds of a prop to hit for the over or the under. So if you guys want, you can take a screenshot of what's up on the screen right now. You can dig into these, research these a little bit more on your own time. But this is kind of what the optimizer's liking right now. So what it does is gives you a percentage. Like for Luis Castillo here, who was at 5.5 strikeouts, he's been bumped down by a half a strikeout to 5. So now you've got potential for this to tie or push, right? So Castillo could end up at 5 or potentially more strikeouts based on the odds being pulled in from these different sports books. It's really hard to out-research these sharp lines on the sports books. But where you can find an advantage is if you can find pricing inefficiencies. And pricing inefficiencies can be a number of different things. It could be a line on Prize Picks is at 5.5, where it's at 5 on other books or 4.5 on other books. So that could be an inefficiency that we could take advantage of where we could find value. Value's the name of the game. Or it could be a matter of like, the odds on these sports books are suggesting that Prize Picks is just a little bit too low or too high on a particular prop. So we're looking for those types of discrepancies, inefficiencies. We're looking for value, in other words, just to boil it down, distill it down to one keyword. Value is the name of the game when you're playing on Prize Picks or even on a site like Underdog. All right, let's see here. What else do we got? We got TJ Elliott in the building. Shout out to you. I think I said hello to you already. Hayes, what's good? T-Bone's in the building. Shout out to T-Bone. What else we got in here? Why are they blocking Jalen Wilson's messages? What are you leaving? Oh, he says, look at Curry. So inspirational. Yeah, I don't know why they would be blocking that. That shouldn't be a blocked message, though. I don't know why they're hiding your message, Jalen. I appreciate the love. Who else we got here? Armando. What's up, Armando? Only one Mondo. Okay. Appreciate that. Hey, thank you for letting me know. We got so many Dub Club members. If you're a Dub Club member, leave a DC in the chat for me. If you're one of the Dub Club members in the community, leave a DC. I want to see how many people are Dub Club representatives that are in the chat. Let me know. Oscar saying he has not received his protected play yet. I don't know if I've received mine. Let's go to the promotions tab. Okay, we have. I have. And mine's only $5. Boo. I mean, I'll take it, but boo, right? $5. So let's opt in. It's a $5 protected play for yours truly. I don't know if you guys got $5. Did you get $5? Did you get $25? Did you get something else? I've heard some people get $35. How big of a protected play did you get for Flex Friday? Look at all the Dub Club members, man. Shout out to the Dub Club members. A lot of Dub Club members in here. Appreciate y'all showing up, showing out. 35 for Travis, 35 for Jeremy. Dang. Hayes got 35 too. Whew, man. Yeah, they're trying me, man, with this $5. We'll take it though. We'll take it. All right. Let's look at some of these picks here on the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer. Again, if you want to take this Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer out for dinner, take it on a date, if you want to romance it, you want to wine and dine it, there's a link down in the description of today's video. It'll save you 25% off of your first month. Pending you've never used the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer before, you've never subscribed before, you could save 25% off of your first month when you use code Curry. So take advantage of that link in the description below. But let's see what we got here. Luis Castillo sitting at 5 strikeouts, 53.3% chance. Like we talked about, that he is going to have at least 5 or more. So let's go ahead and start adding some of these guys to a slip. And then, you know how I like to roll. I like to check some projection models out and kind of see if the projections are not liking some of these different Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer recommendations here. So we'll start with Castillo. Who else they got here? Patrick Corbin, under 3.5 strikeouts. Now, this one's kind of interesting because if you look at Pinnacle's obviously one of the sharpest sports book, if not the sharpest sports book that's out there. You're seeing a lot of juice here on Pinnacle, minus 155 for Patrick Corbin to go under 3.5 Ks. So this could get bumped down to 3. It most likely will if it hasn't already. But let's go ahead and add Patrick Corbin for less than 3.5 Ks. And again, we're going to look at some projection models in just a moment. We're going to see how these are projecting on various sites. Here's our first hitter that's popping up here on the optimizer. We've got Garrett Hampson of the Kansas City Royals at 0.5 runs. This is looking like an underplay, 53% chance for him to stay under a run. So he cannot cross home plate today. That's what we're hoping for, that he cannot cross home plate. So let's add him to the slip as well. Hampson, is that his name? Yeah, for less than a run. And then we got space for one more, room for one more here. Somebody mentioned Severino earlier. Let's look at Luis Severino of the New York Mets going up against the Pittsburgh Pirates today. About a 53% chance for him to clear 4.5 pitcher strikeouts. And you can see across these different books here, minus 127 to go over on Pinnacle. You're getting some juice on BetMGM at minus 155 to go over 4.5 Ks there. Caesars, minus 131. FanDuel, DraftKings, betting favorite to go over on some of those sites as well. So 4.5 for Severino. We need him to get 5 strikeouts to clear that number. So let's add Severino to the slip, and then we'll just run it through some of these projection models. Now, for some of you out there, you guys know that my favorite MLB projection model, the one that's been the most accurate over multiple seasons here recently, is The Bat by Derek Carty. Now, I use it over here on EV Analytics. It's hosted on EV Analytics. It's also hosted on RotoGrinders. So if you're interested in getting your hands on The Bat, you can find it on EV Analytics or on RotoGrinders. And like I said, this has been one of the most accurate MLB projection models that exists. More accurate at times than Vegas lines, in fact. So let's start with Luis Severino. He's at 4.62 projected Ks. Again, he's going up against Pittsburgh today. He's going to be on the road, but the projection here for The Bat has him at 4.62, so putting him slightly over the 4.5 marker, closer to 5 strikeouts than 4 strikeouts. So that first projection looking pretty decent here for Severino. Now, another great site that kind of gives you a little bit of everything and supports not only Prize Picks, but supports Underdog, supports a lot of different sports books, other DFS sites like Pick 6 and Sleeper. You can get access to that as well, is RotoWire. RotoWire is a very, very good tool. They've got Luis Severino projected for 5.38 pitcher strikeouts today, so putting him over that 4.5 marker. Now, you can see that the hit rates here, which is also provided by RotoWire, not great for Severino, but I want to keep drilling this into your heads here. Hit rates are fun to look at. They're okay to look at, but they shouldn't be the end all be all. I see so many cappers out there, so many people who talk about player props, and they mention the hit rates. Oh, he's missed or he's hit in 10 out of his last 12 games. And like hit rates are cool and stuff, seeing what a player has been able to do. But I want to caution you because every matchup's a little bit different. This line wouldn't be what it is if the lines makers, the bookmakers, didn't think it was a sharp line. Every line is set to be what is close to a coin flip as possible. All right. So if it seems like, oh man, this line's way too low, let's just jump on the over, or this line's too high, let's just jump on the under, based on the hit rates. Like, be careful with the hit rates, guys. Every matchup's a little bit different. Just because Severino's gone under a lot versus different teams here lately doesn't mean necessarily that he's going to go under tonight. If this line was too high at 4.5, it would be 3.5, but it's at 4.5 for a reason, because there's a chance that he could go for 4 or he could go for 5, and that's just the name of the game that we're playing here. But anyway, just don't get so enamored and fall in love with hit rates. But speaking of hit rates, let's go over to Outlier real quick. I will pull up the hit rates for Luis Severino because I know some of y'all like to look at stuff like that, and not only does Outlier give us hit rates, but it also gives us a lot of other good, valuable information here. So let's go to the 2024 view. We're thinking about taking Severino for over 4.5 strikeouts. Here's how he has fared or performed with 4.5 strikeouts as his line this season. There's a lot of games where he's hit 4. I wish this line was at 4 on PrizePicks, but you know, it's not. It's at 4.5. He's gone over 4.5 Ks in 44% of the games. Now, again, hit rates, take it with a grain of salt. He's averaging about 4.6 strikeouts per game for the season. He did have a recent game where he had 10 Ks. Now, that was against the Chicago Cubs, a team that's more prone to strikeouts than his most recent opponent, which was the Houston Astros. He only managed 3 Ks against the Houston Astros. So we can look at some of the more detailed stats here for Pittsburgh. Something that you can find, again, inside of Outlier if you want to take Outlier for a 7-day spin for free, totally risk-free. Down in the description of today's video, there's a link for Outlier. But Pittsburgh against right-handed pitchers like Severino, who is a right-handed pitcher, you can see that they rank 26 in K rate or K percentage. And that really hasn't changed a whole lot from the season numbers to the last 30-day numbers. So there hasn't really been a change in that. They're still 26 in strikeout rate versus right-handed pitchers in the last 30 days. All right. Now, projection models, they already factor in all this information. They factor in this information and a whole lot more information. A good projection model like the bat will already factor in who's going to be in the lineup today for Pittsburgh. What's the weather going to be like? Who's the umpire behind home plate? Is this umpire more prone to call strikes or not call strikes? Is the catcher that's going to be catching for Severino a catcher who frames the ball well in the strike zone? The better the framing, the more likely that the umpire is going to call it a strike. You need a good catcher who can frame the ball well for your pitcher. So all those factors, ballpark factors, all that stuff is considered in a good quality projection model like the model that I like to use, which is the bat. So anyway, this is redundant to some degree, but I know some of you guys like to see this information. But yes, Pittsburgh is striking out at a pretty high rate when they go against right-handed pitchers like Severino. So Severino can be good at times. When he's on, he's really on. I mean, he can rack up 10 Ks. He can get you 6, 7. He's got some good upside, good stuff whenever it's all working for him. But, you know, the problem with him is it's not always all good with him. It's not always clicking like it should be. You could also go a little further here with Outlier. You could turn on the away filters. You could see how he performs on the road. You could see his strikeout per game average goes up to 5.14. Now, a lot of that has to do with this 10K game that he had here against the Cubs. But you go back to earlier in the season, he racked up 7, 5, and 6 strikeouts against teams like the Reds, Giants, and Rays. Again, those teams tend to be more prone to striking out. But nonetheless, Severino's numbers do get a little bit better on the road in this 7-game sample that we have. So, I don't want to beat this to death. I don't want to talk about it too much, but Severino over 4.5 Ks I think is a fine play. It's projecting favorably. It is a plus EV play. And at the end of the day, Severino's just got to go out there and he's got to do his thing, right? We can only control so much. We can only do so much research, but I'm going to leave him in there for more than 4.5 Ks. Let's stick with the pitchers, and then we'll circle back and talk about Garrett Hampson's runs. Luis Castillo was the other guy we were looking at. He was at 5.5 strikeouts to start the day. I think he's been bumped down to 5 Ks. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe some of you guys saw his line earlier in the day. Let's refresh the optimizer. Yeah, he's still sitting at 5Ks, 53.3% chance. It's important that I mention this, that he gets 5Ks or more, at least 5 strikeouts, but potentially more. All right, so when you're using a tool like the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer, when it says over 5, I think it's insinuating that he can get 5 or more. So there's a chance that he ties or pushes, lands on exactly 5. His line is 5.5 on all major sports books. And I think it's going to stay at 5.5. I don't think you're going to see them take his line down to 4.5. I think at 4.5, it's going to be way juiced up over 4.5. So I think you're going to see these books just leave it at 5.5. And you're probably going to see PrizePicks leave it at exactly 5 for the entirety of the day. I think that's just what's going to happen here. It's going to be one of those lines where 4.5 is just going to be way too low for the books to do that. 5.5 is probably the more appropriate line. And so people are betting the under at 5.5. But you're seeing on a site like Pinnacle, again, the sharpest sports book out there, minus 109 to go over at 5.5. So I like looking at that as an indication that there are some sharp bettors out there that believe that Castillo has the ability to reach 6 or more strikeouts. So when there's minus odds on the over, that leaves the door open for this guy to potentially go over 5.5 strikeouts. There's bettors out there that are putting their money on Castillo going over 5.5. Now, it's plus odds on most of these other books, but Pinnacle, minus odds over at 5.5K. So that's a good sign that 5 is within reach, maybe even 6 if things are really going well for Luis Castillo. Let's look at the projections for Castillo today. We're going to go back to the bat and take a peek. Castillo sitting at 5 on PrizePicks. But look at this. The bat has him projected for 5.9 strikeouts. 5.9. So that's probably why you're seeing bettors on Pinnacle take the over even at 5.5 strikeouts. So we're getting him at 5. He's projected for 5.9 on the sharpest MLB projection models out there. The bat, the most accurate that I've found. If you know of a more accurate MLB model, leave it in the live chat for the others. But the bat, as far as I can tell, by Derek Carty is the sharpest MLB projection model. That doesn't mean it's going to get 100% of all the picks right, guys. Okay? No process, no projection model. If you're picking blindly, if you're using the most advanced data possible, nothing is a 100% process or projection or method to sports betting. There's nothing out there that's going to get you 100% accuracy all the time. But really sharp model, 5.9 projection is the projection for Castillo. So maybe we go double Luis. We go Luis Castillo and Luis Severino, both over strikeouts. Checking a second projection here. Again, this one's over here on RotoWire. He's projected for 4.91 Ks. Puts him real close to 5 strikeouts. So again, 5 should at least be a safe landing spot here for Castillo going up against the Toronto Blue Jays. Could he get 6? Maybe. Maybe. We don't know. Nobody knows anything for sure. But 5 at least seems doable. Seems doable. He's had his struggles this season. He's been okay. He's definitely had better seasons than what he's put together so far this season. But let's take a look at his strikeout numbers. This line is going to be 5 on PrizePicks, so we'll set it at 5 on Outlier. Started the season really strong. I'm not sure what's going on with him here in more recent game samples. But at 5 strikeouts, he's hit 5 or more in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 games out of 18, he's had at least 5 or more. But you can see here over the last 10 starts or so, been a little bit shaky, right? Hasn't been Mr. Consistent like he was to start the season. So, a little iffy here for Castillo. Now, he is going to be pitching at home today. Again, we can look at the home splits versus the road splits. How does he perform when he's pitching in or at Seattle? Much better, thankfully. The numbers improve dramatically when he's pitching at home in Seattle, like he will be today. In fact, he's hit 5 or more strikeouts in 7 out of 9, or 8 out of 9, I should say. He's cleared 5, but he's had 5 or more in 8 out of 9 starts playing at home in Seattle. So the numbers do get better for him pitching at home. Much better at home than he has been away this season. Did have a bit of a stinker here. June 30th, his last start against the Minnesota Twins. Hopefully today's better for him. As far as the strikeout rates for the Toronto Blue Jays, you can see Toronto versus right-handed pitchers. They are striking out at a little bit of a higher clip over the last 30 days than they have been overall for the season against right-handers. 14th in the last 30 days compared to 6th over the course of the entire season. So definitely swinging and missing a bit more. As far as Luis Castillo as a pitcher, he ranks in the 66th percentile this season in K percentage and in Ks per 9 innings. So probably better than average, above average stuff so far this season. But again, the last 5 to 10 starts haven't been the greatest, but he is playing at home today, which looks good. So it looks like a 5, probably a 5 or better strikeout type of situation here for Castillo. Any previous matchups? Yeah, he's got one from earlier this season where he faced Toronto. Now, again, his stuff might have been a little bit better earlier on in the season than it has been here lately, but back on April the 8th, very, very early on in the season, he did have 6 Ks versus Toronto in that particular game. This was from last season, 4 Ks last season, 6 Ks this season, and his only previous matchup from this season versus the Blue Jays. So we'll leave him in there at 5. Are we rocking with the two Luises, Luis Severino and Luis Castillo? Let me know what you guys think so far. I'm trying to show you everything that I can show you. Look at these props from a multitude of different angles and perspectives and points of view and data points. Are we okay with leaving Severino and Castillo in there? I'd like to get your feedback. What are you guys thinking? What are your eyes telling you? What do you see? You liking it? Hating it? King United took him under fantasy. Now, listen, both things can be true, right? He could end up with at least 5 Ks and still go under fantasy. Totally feasible, possible that could happen. So, I mean, I don't hate that. Fantasy score is a tricky little sucker because you got to think about the other pitcher who he's going up against. Is that pitcher good, bad? Will the Seattle Mariners be able to get to that opposing pitcher? In other words, will the Mariners bats wake up, give Castillo some run support potentially? Because that win, that lead is super important for a starting pitcher, especially when you're talking about fantasy score. Or the Mariners going to suck it up against Toronto's starting pitcher. That could very well be a thing. And maybe Toronto's bats start beating Castillo up and he doesn't get that win equity. So fantasy score under could be a thing. Jeremy saying I like both Severino and Castillo unders. Sensei Nick says he took the Castillo Goblin. So that could be another way. If you guys want a little bit of a easier path, a lesser payout, there's this little button right here. I don't know if you guys see this in your mobile app, but you can hit this little button and it will actually change the line for certain props. So there's Castillo's Demon, which is 6.5 strikeouts. I'm not taking that. But the Goblin line, which is a softer line, a lower line, you could bump that down to 3.5 Ks. And that's probably a lot safer bet. But when you're playing it safe, you're also going to get a lower or lesser payout, but you could go this route if you prefer. If you're looking for a safer option, you could take the over at 3.5 Ks. So that is available to you on PrizePicks. Demons, harder to hit. Goblins, easier to hit. Or you can just stick with the regular line, which is at 5 Ks. I'm going to stick with the regular line. Maybe it ties, maybe it pushes. If that happens, then the 4 pick that I can put together here would end up being a 3 pick. Or if you're playing a 5 pick, it ended up being a 4 pick. You know how it works, most of you. Now let's talk about Patrick Corbin. 3.5 strikeouts seems awfully low. And Corbin's, again, one of those guys where Sometimes he can string together a decent outing, a decent start. He can put together, a 5 strikeout game, which is a pretty strong game for him. But then there's other games where he's given up, 6, 7 hits in 3 innings. He's going up against the St. Louis Cardinals today, who can be somewhat strikeout prone. So maybe this 3.5 strikeout number is a little trappy. But going back to the optimizer here, we're going to refresh it and get the latest and greatest data and information and odds. You can see that the 3.5 is now the top play on the optimizer. 53.4% chance that he is staying under 3.5 strikeouts today. Again, the bettors on Pinnacle. Sharp sportsbook. Pinnacle's very, very sharp. Minus 155 betting favorite to go under on Pinnacle. I think it's a matter of time before Corbin ends up at 3 strikeouts on PrizePicks. I think the bump's coming. We'll see. Let's look at some projections on Patrick Corbin right now. Corbin projected for exactly 3.5 Ks. Well, 3.51 if you want to get nitpicky. 3.51 strikeouts on the bat. So the bat and Vegas, or lines makers for these sports books, I call them Vegas. The bat and Vegas are completely in line here. This could break either way. It could go 3. He could end up with 4. It could go either way. Let's look at a second projection, though. Maybe we can kind of break the tie, find an edge here with this second projection model. Patrick Corbin over here on RotoWire. They've got him at 3.45 strikeouts. It's a little bit less than 3.5. But it is a little scary, especially when you consider Patrick Corbin's recent success. He's been showing some pretty good form here lately. Now, like I said, hit rates aren't everything because styles make fights. Matchups are more important than hit rates. But look what Patrick Corbin's done here. At 3.5 strikeouts, he's gone over in 59% of the games. If we flip this on its head and look at the unders, you're going to see a lot more red bars than green bars, meaning he has stayed over 3.5 Ks in more games than he has stayed under. So he's been going over 3.5 quite a bit. No previous head-to-head matchups for Corbin. We could also look at the home games here. Under on 3.5. He's gone under on 3.5 at home in 57% of the games in which he started in Washington. Averaging about 4.1 Ks per game. This one it bothers me. This one bothers me a little bit. This one might be one that I just would fade. I'd rather stay away from it. You're dealing with a guy who's been pretty hot here lately. I don't know. I feel more confident in Luis Severino and Luis Castillo. Taking a look here. St. Louis Cardinals. Hitters versus left-handed pitchers. Patrick Corbin is a left-handed pitcher. They're striking out a little bit more to lefties over the last 30 days. So the recent form for the Cardinals hitters versus left-handed pitchers isn't the greatest. You combine that with the fact that Corbin's recent form has actually looked good, and we could be in a little trouble here. This could be a 4 or more strikeout kind of game for Corbin. Steve, I think you're right, man. I think this could be a fade situation. Cardinals versus lefties. They rank 6th in strikeout percentage, which is great for the season. Under 20% strikeout rate as a team overall versus left-handers. But over the last 30 days, that number has crept up to 15th in strikeout rate versus lefties. From a 19.7 K percentage up to a 21% K percentage. So I'm a little hesitant to just ride with the under on Patrick Corbin. I'm going to fade him. Now, here's what I would do. Keep an eye on this pick. Here's a little bit of strategy that we could potentially do here. We could wait for others to jump on the under at 3.5. Hopefully PrizePicks reacts. They bring Corbin down to 3 strikeouts. And then we go over on Patrick Corbin at 3 strikeouts instead of taking the over at 3.5 strikeouts or the under at 3.5 strikeouts. So if this gets bumped down to 3 Ks, keep an eye on it throughout the day. It could get bumped down to 3 flat. If it gets bumped down to 3 Ks flat, I think then we pounce on the over at 3. On the over at 3. But I'm going to wait for right now. I'm going to leave it alone. This is one to watch. Let this one marinate. If it goes down to 3, then we jump on the over at 3. What do you guys think about that? A bump down to 3. King United would love a bump down to 3. I agree. If it gets bumped down to 3, I think we jump on the over at 3. How many times has he hit 3 or more? I mean, look at the consistency from Patrick Corbin at 3 or more Ks here. Let's just set it to over at 2.5. Because now it'll show everything green at 3 or more. 3 or more, he has hit 14 out of 17 times. 82%, he's had at least 3 strikeouts or more. So if it goes down to 3, maybe all the bettors out there will drive this line from 3.5 down to 3. If it goes down to 3, then we definitely want to think about jumping on the over at 3 strikeouts. Because he's hit 3 or more in 14 out of 17 games, 82%. So keep an eye on it. We'll leave it alone for right now. We're kicking Corbin out. It's too risky at 3.5 to take the under, in my humble opinion. If you feel otherwise, I mean, take the under at 3.5 if you want to, but I'm going to leave that one alone. Which brings us to Garrett Hampson. Now, when it comes to runs, I try to consider as much information as possible. So it's the Kansas City Royals, right, versus the Colorado Rockies. I do believe that this game is in Colorado. Am I right about that? Yeah. And if you know anything about Coors Field, where the Rockies play, you know that it's great for hitters. It's great for offense. And so we got to be careful taking unders in games at Coors Field. There is a lot of juice coming in on the under on Garrett Hampson still at 0.5 runs. So he's up here twice. He's up here for 0.5 singles. So if he hits a single, he has to hit a single. It can't be a double. A double wouldn't count. It's got to be exactly a single. If he hits a single, 53.1% chance that he's going to go over for one single. But we're looking at the runs here. We're looking at taking the runs potentially under 0.5. 53% chance that he stays under 0.5 runs. Again, this game being in Coors Field, it's risky to do this, especially when you know that the Colorado Rockies don't have great pitching on top of the fact that they are playing at a hitter-friendly ballpark. So you got some things working against you here. So let's look at Garrett Hampson a little bit closer. I like looking at stack projections. And then, again, this is provided by the Bat. Look at the top stack. The top hitting stack on today's slate is the Kansas City Royals going up against Kyle Freeland. They're projected to score more fantasy points as a team than any other stack that's out there today. So they are the top rated offensive stack going up against Kyle Freeland, crappy pitcher, at Colorado, great ballpark for hitting. So I'm calling trap on this one, potentially a trap on Garrett Hampson staying under a run. Now, if he does, more power to him. Let's run some projections on this real quick. Let's just see if the Bat's liking him to stay under a run. I mean, dang, that is a good projection. He is batting at the back of the order too. 8th. He's projected to be 8th in the order today, which means potentially less plate appearances or at-bats for Garrett Hampson. 0.41 projected runs. His line is 0.5. I mean, it is a good projection. I can't front. The projection is great. I don't know if I want to risk it, but the projection's definitely supporting the under, and I can see why people are betting the under. Let's go over here to RotoWire real quick and check a projection on RotoWire. RotoWire's got him a little higher, 0.63 projected runs. So you got a 0.63 on RotoWire. You got a 41. So you kind of average those together. He's sitting right around 0.5, runs. What to do, what to do. For me, when there's ever any seed of doubt, I feel better just leaving it alone. I mean, we could just walk away from Garrett Hampson. And I think that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to walk away from it. Somebody was asking about Bobby Witt at 10.5 fantasy. Well, I'm seeing him at 11. So if he was at 10.5, he's not at 10.5 anymore. He's at 11. Bobby Witt versus Kyle Freeland. Let's see if he's on the BVP report today, the batter versus pitcher report. Is it a hot matchup, cold matchup? He's just not on here. So I don't know if Bobby Witt has much history against Kyle Freeland. One thing that you could do with RotoWire, if you guys subscribe to RotoWire, this is something that I would recommend you take advantage of. You can open up a player like Bobby Witt. You could scroll down here and you could take a look at his previous matchups versus Kyle Freeland. He's had 6 at-bats or 6 plate appearances versus Kyle Freeland in his career, which is a pretty small sample size. I'm going to be honest with you. Pretty small sample. He's recorded 1 hit, which was a triple, which led to 2 runs batted in. So here are his numbers. 0.167 batting average, 0.167 OBP, 0.500 slugging percentage, and a 0.667 OPS. So small sample, not the greatest numbers. Had the 1 hit. The 1 hit was a triple. Drove in 2 runs. I mean, I guess you could go there if you wanted to. As far as projections go, Bobby Witt is projected for 14.2 hitter fantasy score today on PrizePicks. By the way, if you're using fantasy score projections like the bat, you want to use DraftKings fantasy projections for hitters. You want to use FanDuel fantasy projections for pitchers. Important to distinguish those two. Hitters, DraftKings projections if you're using projection models. Pitchers, FanDuel projections for pitching props for fantasy score. But yes, Bobby Witt is projecting very well today. 14.2 projected fantasy score. So if you wanted to add him in there, you could add him in there. If you got him at 10.5, kudos to you. He's been swinging a hot bat here lately. RotoWire's got him projected for 13.2 fantasy score. He's hit this in 4 straight games. Eventually, he's not going to hit. But is he in a good situation today? I'd say so against Kyle Freeland. Is he in a good ballpark situation? I'd say so, being in Coors Field. Is it good to see that Bobby Witt is a member of the Kansas City Royals who is the top projected offense today for fantasy points? Yeah, that's working well for Bobby Witt too. Yeah. So there's a lot of good things to like here about Bobby Witt for more than 11 fantasy scores. So we can add him in. Thanks for the recommendation. Who mentioned that? Steven. We'll ride with it. We'll leave Bobby Witt in there. 11's a big number. It's a big number. But he can do it. He could definitely do it. What other recommendations? What other props are we seeing here? Are we liking? By the way, thank you for all the likes. Those of you who are watching and you're sitting on your hands, you haven't hit that like button yet, hit that like button, man. Hit that share button. Share the live stream with somebody. Maybe there's somebody out there who's been in your DMs or been in your text messages. We've all got that friend. Hey, what's the plays for today? What's the MLB locks? Send them to this live stream. Send them to my YouTube channel. Have them subscribe. Or if you're a Dub Club member and you know somebody out there who's in a group text and they're always hitting you up asking you what the plays are, have them join Dub Club. They're going to get a 3-day free trial. It's going to be 67 cents per day after the 3 days runs out. It's like $20 a month, $5 a week, super affordable. Okay? I've left the link for the Dub Club in the live chat in case you have somebody who might be interested in joining our community. We got a great community of great people. No drama. No childish games, no BS, no toxicity. Great little squad we've built in Dub Club and Discord. Yeah, you're going to get the steal upside from Bobby Witt Jr. for sure. He swipes a bag, that 11, he's going to hit that 11 fantasy score easy peasy. if he swipes a bag. Yosemite's got a pick here. He's thinking about some Sonny Gray. We got sunny days ahead for Sonny Gray at 5 strikeouts, or are things looking doom and gloom for Sonny? Where's he at? There he is. Sonny Gray at 5 Ks. You're thinking about maybe leaning more towards Sonny Gray for the more at 5 strikeouts versus Washington. Perfect. Let's look at that one. First and foremost, we want to know, is it a plus EV play for Sonny Gray to go over 5 strikeouts? It is, but it's not the most plus EV play. So if you're leaning more toward the over, you're probably leaning in the right direction. He could very well just land on 5 strikeouts. Is he going to get 6? We'll see. 51.7% chance, let's call it, of him getting you at least 5 Ks, though. And generally speaking, he's been good this season. He's been pitching very well, Sonny Gray. Let's look at some projections for Sonny and see how those are shaking out. We'll go to the Ks section here on the bat. What is Sonny Gray projecting for? 4.78 Ks, which is close to 5, much closer to 5 than 4. But I'm worried about the upside here against Washington. With such a low projected strikeout total on the bat, I don't know that he's going to have a high ceiling. It's going to be one of those situations where the floor is pretty high for Sonny Gray, but the ceiling probably pretty low for Sonny, surprisingly, going up against Washington. Let's get a second projection. We'll go over here to RotoWire, where they've got Sonny Gray a little bit more favorably projected. 5.6 strikeouts for Sonny Gray over here on RotoWire. So they're thinking the 5, maybe closer to 6, is within reach for Sonny Gray today against the Washington Nationals. Let's get a more detailed glimpse at how Sonny Gray has performed at 5 strikeouts. Like I said, he's having a pretty good season so far with St. Louis. Let's switch this over to 5. Let's look at the full 2024 scope here. So we'll zoom out to the full 2024 look. He's actually hit 5 or more strikeouts. 5 or more strikeouts in 14 out of 15 starts. There's been one time, one game, and funny enough, it was against Miami, who's not a very good team. Only one time he's went under 5 strikeouts. Otherwise, he's hit 5 or better in every other game. 14 out of 15 starts, he's had at least 5. So I can see why Yosemite is looking at this one at 5 strikeouts and licking his chops and liking what he's seeing here. Now, Gray can give you 9, 10, 12 strikeout upside. And he's done that against some decent teams. Philly, Milwaukee. He's had 9 against the Mets. Pretty impressive there. Mets aren't a very high strikeout team, which is why I'm under on Paul Skeens today. Very, very hot take, but I am taking the under on Paul Skeens at 8 Ks. Scary, I know. Skeens is the man. He's the real deal. But I am taking the under on Paul Skeens at 8 against the Mets. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Sonny Gray at 5 or more Ks. I mean, he's hit 5 or more in every single game except for one against the Miami Marlins. As far as the matchup goes, Washington against righties, not striking out a whole lot, guys. Now, you've got the, what do they call it? Immovable object versus the unstoppable force. In other words, Sonny Gray's K percentage, he ranks in the 95th percentile. There ain't too many pitchers, as far as K percentage goes, that are higher than Sonny Gray in Major League Baseball this season. Ks per 9, 93 percentile. 93rd percentile. But Washington versus righties, 9th in K percentage for the 2024 season. And that number is actually crept down to 6. They're striking out less in recent games versus righties. That could be over the last 30 days. They haven't faced really any good elite strikeout right-handed pitchers. That could very well be a thing. And why that number has come down. Maybe the quality of pitching that they faced here recently hasn't been good. Very well could be a thing. But yeah, you got one of the top strikeout pitchers versus one of the bottom strikeout teams versus righties. So I think 5 is fine. If this goes up to 5.5, I get worried. But I think 5 is appropriate. Just don't be surprised if he lands on exactly 5 and it ends up as a tie or a push. Now, you could also take a look at how he does on the road. Not bad overall. 7.3 strikeouts per game on average on the road. That one game that he went under 5 strikeouts was against the Miami Marlins. It's weird, I know. Maybe it was just a bad day for him. Could be. He's had 9. He's had 10. He's had 6 against teams like Oakland, New York, Mets, the Milwaukee Brewers, the Los Angeles Angels, the Phillies. He had 10. Then he had that 4 against Miami. So that's kind of what he's done on the road. But I'm taking it. I'll rock with you, Yosemite. I will take him at 5 Ks. I'm doing so knowing that there's a tie or push potential here. Now, I ain't putting 50 on it. I'll throw 10 on it. Since I can only play power plays, I can't flex. If I miss one, I'm SOL. Because I can only 4-pick power play here in Florida. Well, I could do 3-pick power plays or 2-pick power plays, but I prefer 4-pick power plays for the upside of potentially going for 10x. So I'll put $10 on this to win 100. But we've got Castillo, Severino, and Gray all going over strikeouts. And we went ahead and took Bobby Witt Jr. 411 fantasy score or more. So there's your first 4 picks. I'm okay with these. I think they're fine. I have never gotten a 3 out of 4 payday on Arena. I have not. I have seen people who have. I just haven't, I guess, been a part of the right group. The way PrizePicks Arena works, it's like a player versus the projections on PrizePicks format. It's kind of weird. You can only play power plays, 2, 3, or 4 picks. And they have like this scoring system. Ideally, you get all your picks right, you win the full amount. So if I get all 4 of these right, it'll be a 10x, right? Or if I push on Luis Castillo, he lands on exactly 5 Ks. Or I push on Sonny Gray, he lands on exactly 5 Ks. But I get the other 3 right, then it would be a 5x payout. 3 out of 3 right on PrizePicks on a power play, you get 5x. So that's how that works. But sometimes you can get 3 out of 4 right and still make money. There was somebody in our community that did that. So yeah, I've seen it done. Personally, has it happened to me? It has not. I have not gotten any kind of payout on a 3 out of 4 playing PrizePicks Arena yet. So if you're in Florida, like I am, 4-pick power play is going to be the most optimal entry size on PrizePicks. If you're playing PrizePicks Pick'em Arena. All right, so there's 4 options for you. But for those of you who are not in Florida, who have the ability to flex, you're probably wondering, well, I need to add maybe a 5th pick to this because I want to do a 5-pick flex, or I want to add a 6th pick to this. So let's look for a few more picks. Maybe we could build out a second slip of 4. Let's see what we've got here on the board. Clear that out. Let's refresh the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer. Again, if you guys are looking for links to any of the tools that I'm using in today's video, guys, everything you could possibly want and more can be found in the description of today's video. Everyday Fantasy with the super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Everyday Fantasy. If you guys have like any hard-hitting, pressing matters, questions, things that you want me to look into, and you want to help support the channel, feel free to leave a super chat like my guy Everyday Fantasy. Appreciate that. He's liking Nestor Cortez for 1.5 walks. I'm guessing you mean the over on Cortez. You want to take the over on his walks or under? Right now, it's kind of EV neutral. If you were leaning one way or the other, I mean, I'd say leaning very lightly, loosely here because of how close the odds are on the books for this. 50.4% chance for him to go under versus a 49.5% chance that he goes over. I mean, it's basically a coin flip. So, flip a coin, Nestor Cortez walks over, under. But let's look into what he's actually saying here. He's saying that the hit rate, apparently, for Cortez is good. So let's go back over here to Outlier. We'll turn Nestor Cortez on in the filters, and then we'll go to walks allowed. He seems to go under walks more than he goes over walks. He's only gone over 1.5 walks in 33% of the games he's appeared in. He's gone under walks, 1.5 walks, in 67% of the games that he's pitched in. But you mentioned a head-to-head. I don't have any head-to-head information for Cortez versus the Boston Red Sox today. But you are liking the over? You think he walks at least 2 hitters today? Well, let's look into this a little bit more. We can use Outlier to help us out here. We scroll down here. Outlier will provide information. More information. Here's an insight. Nestor Cortez has failed to go over or exceed 1.5 walks allowed in 9 of his last 10 games at home. So he's actually stayed under in 9 of the last 10 starts at home. He stayed under 1.5 walks. So that's a 90% hit rate in the last 10 home starts for Cortez. As far as where the walk rates are for the Boston Red Sox versus left-handed pitching, Boston versus lefties, 9.7% walk percentage, which ranks 3rd. Very low walk rate. It's gone up to 10%, 8th ranked in the last 30 days. Walking at a little bit of a higher rate. What about projection for Cortez in these walks? So I'm not really seeing like a great edge here. The fact that he's not walking at a high clip at home is also worrisome. Red Sox don't walk a whole lot. He's projected for 1.28 walks allowed. Closer to 1 walk than 2 walks. I know Everyday Fantasy wants to take the over at 2. Or he wants to take the over at 1.5, hoping he has at least 2 walks. The projections just aren't rocking with that thought, though. 1.28 is his projected walks. Let's go over here and check a second projection on Cortez in these walks. He's projected for 1.32 projected walks. So if you're going to take this Nestor Cortez over 1.5 walks allowed, I would probably say don't take it on PrizePicks. Or don't take it at all anywhere. If you wanted to take the over, it would be more advantageous for you to take the over on a site like Sleeper, Parlay Play, or your favorite sportsbook. So if you're wanting to take the over at 1.5 walks, you probably want to take it like on a site that's going to reward you, that's going to pay you bigger, pay you more for taking the risk of the over at 1.5 walks allowed. So I would fade this one. I'm not going to take this one personally, but I do appreciate the super chat. I do appreciate you shining light on this prop. It just ain't going to be for me. This one ain't for me, dog. But much love. Keep those picks coming. I appreciate you, Mr. Don P. I'm going to stay away from that one. Just going to fade it. Somebody was asking about Paul Skeens. I hinted at or alluded to that I'm thinking of taking Skeens. I actually did take Skeens. I took Skeens under 8 strikeouts. Why did I do that? Why did I take Skeens under 8 Ks? I'm going to show you why. I'll show you why. We're going to go over to the bat. Paul Skeens was projected for 6.78 Ks on the bat today. 6.78 strikeouts for Paul Skeens going up against the New York Mets. So for me, that's why I took the under. I'm trusting in the data behind these projections and behind these projection models. I know New York, not a super high strikeout rate team typically. And the models know that too. The models know more than I know, the projection models. So I took the under on Paul Skeens at 8 Ks. You don't have to. If you're scared, don't do it. If you can't afford to do it, don't do it. Paul Skeens is a strikeout machine. He's a monster. But the projection here on the bat, 6.78, they've got him going under by more than 1 strikeout versus where he is at on PrizePicks. Now, we're going to look at Skeens here on RotoWire too, another projection model who's got him going under 7 Ks, but closer to 7 Ks than 8 Ks. And it's a far cry from 9 Ks, the 9 Ks that would ultimately sink our battleship, right? So 6.6 strikeouts is the projection for Paul Skeens on RotoWire. Let's go ahead. We'll even check a third projection. Fantasy Labs, part of the Action Labs package. They've got Paul Skeens sitting at 7.2 Ks. 3 different projection models on Skeens all have him closer to 7 strikeouts than 8 or 9 strikeouts. So that's why I took the under on Skeens today. Now, where's he at on the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer? When you factor in the odds from the sports books, Paul Skeens is sitting at about a 51.1% chance to go under 8 Ks or 8 or fewer strikeouts, which isn't like 53, 54% chance to hit, right? I mean, it's a pretty low percentage for him to hit at 51.1%, but the under would be the lean based on the odds pulled from these books. So I went ahead and took Skeens for less than 8. We'll see what happens. Game logs, we can pull those up. We'll show Paul Skeens game logs. But if you wanted to add Skeens to the 4 picks that we discussed before, and you wanted to make it a 5-pick flex, go ahead and do that. I don't think that's an awful idea. Here's how Skeens has performed this season. Has he gone under 8 before? He has. He's gone under in 1, 2, 3 games against teams like the Cubs, the Giants, and the Reds. Teams that, honestly, he probably should have done a lot better against. Now, he's also landed on exactly 8 against quality teams like the Dodgers. Here's 8 against the Cardinals, 8 against the Rays. He's had 9 strikeouts against the Braves, the Tigers, and he had 11 against the Cubs. So he faced the Cubs twice, had 7 one game, 11 the next. Kind of dominated, kind of owned him in that rematch, didn't he? How's he done at home? 8 or fewer at home in every single home start. So he's yet to exceed 8 Ks while pitching at home in Pittsburgh. So there's some good information as far as the splits for Skeens at home. 8 or fewer has been his MO so far this season. Okay, so that's good. He hasn't gone over 8 in any of his home games yet. Hopefully today's not the day. Taking a look at the matchup here. You can kind of see what he's been up to against right-handed pitching. The New York Mets against righties ranked 10th in K percentage. So they're one of the most difficult teams to strike out if you're a right-handed pitcher. Top 10 lowest K percentage versus righties. And that's gotten even better over the last 30 games. 7th ranked. So they've improved their K percentage It's actually gone down, which is good if you're taking the under on Skeens strikeouts today, from 10th to 7th ranked over the last 30 days. All right. So the Mets, not a very high strikeout team. Skeens, yes, he's a strikeout monster. But I think if you're leaning one way or the other, I think the under looks like the move. What do you guys think? Yay, nay on Skeens? 8 or fewer? You in? I think I'm in. I mean, I know I'm in. I don't know if you're in. That's why I'm asking. Are you in? I'm in. So that could be a 5th pick to go on top of the first 4 that we've already entered in, which are these here. But yeah, I already took Skeens earlier. A couple of these other picks that I took have already been taken down from the board too. Tyler O'Neill under a walk. That's gone. Nico Horner under 1.5 total bases. That's gone. Here's Skeens under 8. Already take that one, so I'm not going to take it again. Michael Busch for under a walk. That one's still on the board. You could take that one going up against the Angels. But here are the 4 that we've already discussed. Castillo and Severino, both over strikeouts. Witt Jr. over hitter fantasy score. Sonny Gray over 5 strikeouts. So you could add Skeens under 8 if you want. Jeremy in on Skeens. Perfect. There you go. There's another pick. Let's see if we can find any more. I don't want to keep you guys too long. It's already been about an hour, a little over an hour. Is there anything else popping up worth playing? Possibly. Let's see. Max Fried of the Atlanta Braves, 5.5 strikeouts. I did have this one on my radar earlier. It's interesting that it's starting to kind of pick up some steam here now that it's around 12 p.m. Eastern. 5.5 Ks. You're seeing some juice on the under on books like Pinnacle. A lot more juice over on DraftKings. Minus 145 betting favorite to go under at 5.5 Ks on DraftKings Sportsbook. Another minus 145. I think that's Bet Online. So a lot of juice coming in. Movement coming in on the under for Max Fried at 5.5 Ks. Let's go take a look at Fried on the projection models here. He is projected for 5.1 on the bat. Puts him closer to 5 than 5.5. Good first projection. Everything on Max Fried today seems to be leaning toward the under against the Phillies, including his strikeouts. 4.79 projected Ks for Max Fried there. So leaning under on Fried would be a move that you could possibly make if you feel so inclined. What else do we have? Michael Busch under hitter walks. That one's starting to build some momentum too. I just showed you guys that one in a previous slip that I had made. I took him and Skeens under 8 strikeouts. Michael Busch under 0.5 hitter walks. So there's a couple of options for you. Busch will probably get removed here before too long. So if you like Busch, you guys like Busch, take him under. If you like Busch. Tanner Bibee. Am I saying that right? Is it Bibee or is it Bibby, like Mike Bibby? Over 4.5 hits allowed. 52.8% chance of him going over 4.5 hits allowed. Getting some good juice rolling in here on the over for Tanner Bibee as well. Cleveland Guardians starting pitcher today. Minus 131 to go over on a book like Pinnacle. I like when Pinnacle's minus 130 or better odds on a book like Pinnacle is always typically good news. Let's go look at some Tanner Bibee hits allowed. Projected for about 4.8 hits allowed. He's going up against the San Francisco Giants. So 4.8 gets him closer to that 5 number that we're looking at. We're hoping for 5 or more if we're taking Bibee over. But RotoWire's in the opposite direction. They got him down at 3.8. So you got a battle of 2 different projection models, right? You got the BAT, widely regarded and known as the most accurate MLB projection model, versus RotoWire. Good in their own right. Good projections either way. But they don't align. They don't agree on this particular prop for Tanner Bibee. But I would say with the sportsbook data and the BAT both liking Bibee for more than 4.5 hits allowed, that we should probably be leaning more toward the over. But let's look at some Tanner Bibee game logs here. Again, this is Outlier. For those of you who have never seen Outlier before, who have never used Outlier before, they've got a 7-day all-access free pass. Check out the description down in today's video, and you could check out some Outlier for yourself. Now, to start the season, Bybee was giving up tons and tons of hits. The hits allowed over 4.5 would have been good money in the first 5 games. And he's had his games. He's had his games since those first 5 games where he's given up 5 or more hits allowed. Overall hit rates, for those who care, 59% of the games in which he's appeared, he's gone over 4.5 hits allowed. He's playing at home today. That number shoots up a little bit to 63%, gives up exactly 5 hits per game playing at home in Cleveland. So there's a little bit more information for you on Bybee. He has not faced the San Francisco Giants. This will be the first time that they've faced off. How do the Giants do at hitting right-handed pitchers? Funny you should ask. Not great. San Francisco for the season against righties, 16th ranked in batting average. That has only gotten worse over the last 30 games. So they went from a 16th ranked to a 24 ranked batting average as a team against right-handed pitchers over the last 30 days. So they're trending in the wrong direction here if we're thinking about taking Bybee over 4.5. They are also striking out more. So they're doing less contact, more striking out, more swinging, more missing. Less batted balls in play, that BABIP. So they're swinging for the fences, but they're missing. They're missing a lot, striking out more. So this one's a little iffy for me. You got 2 projection models that are torn here, right? They're not in agreement. They're not aligning. So for me, this would be a fade. I'm going to leave Tanner Bybee alone. He could stay right there. And we can watch and see what happens without any money in on that one, which is perfectly fine. I'm looking for a couple more plays, though. I want to bet out at least one more 4-pick. Or for those of you who only have 4 or 5 picks right now and you're looking for additional picks, you should have at least 6, though. Should have at least 6 based on what we've looked. Well, 7, I would say now. You got these 4. Castillo, Severino, Gray all over strikeouts. Bobby Witt Jr. over fantasy score. Skeens under 8 Ks. Michael Busch under 0.5 walks. So right there is 6 plays. And then Max Fried under 5.5 pitcher strikeouts. That's 7 plays. So that's 7 picks that I'm giving away for free here today. So for you 5-pick and 6-pick fiends, you got 5 and 6 picks that I've already lined up for you. You can take those, knowing that the data is behind them, the projections are behind them, the odds are behind them, they're plus EV plays. And then whatever happens, happens after that point. We can't control what these guys go out there and do once the game starts, but at least you know you're getting your money in good on some picks, right? What else we got, though? That's 7 picks. What else do we have? Let's see. We got Riley Green, over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. He's been pretty good at baseball this season. Carson Spears, under 2.5 earned runs allowed. Let's add these guys to the slip. Riley Green for more than 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Spears for less. Am I spelling his name wrong? I think I am. Carson Spires. Maybe it's more Spires than Spears. There we go. Spires. Less than 2.5 earned runs allowed. We need one more. One more. Who's it gonna be? It's not gonna be. It's not gonna be Bybee. Aaron Nola under 18.5 pitching outs. Under 18.5 pitching outs against the Atlanta Braves is kind of interesting. It's getting some good juice across all your sports books, so the odds are in your favor. The wind is at your back. You're going with the grain, not against it, so that could be a move. We're basically saying that Aaron Nola is going to go 6 innings or less against the Braves, right? Because each inning has 3 pitching outs per inning. His line's at 18.5. They're saying to take the under at 18.5. So we need Aaron Nola to get knocked out of the game or removed from the game in 6 or fewer innings. Do we think that happens or no against the Braves? Dwayne mentioning Aaron Nola under 18.5 pitching outs. Desmond says it looks fire. Okay. Maybe we go here. Braves can be very hit or miss. No pun intended. When they're hitting, they're smashing. Nola's a good pitcher, though. Nola is quality when it comes to pitching. It's a little scary, a little iffy. Let's put him in there for right now, tentatively, and we'll look at these a little bit closer. Fried already checks out pretty good for me. I'm good with that. Riley Green for more than 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs going up against Cincy. Again, I like to look at the top projected offenses. Are the Tigers looking like a good stack today? They are actually. They're one of the higher rated, higher projected offensive teams on today's MLB slate. Here's where they are. Detroit Tigers versus Carson Spires. You know, they're right around the top 10 projected offenses today. They're sneaky. Detroit's been a sneaky, decent, hitting team. So, yeah, things are looking pretty decent here. And the reason I look at, top projected stacks and top projected offenses is because when you're looking at a prop like hits, runs, and RBIs or hitter fantasy score, you want to know that the other players around the player that you're looking at are also going to be contributing. Because Riley Green can get a hit, but once he's on base, he's going to need the guys behind him to potentially knock him in and get him across home plate for that run, right? 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. Or the other way around. Guy in front of Riley Green gets on base. We're hoping Riley Green is able to hit that guy in, knock him in, pick up a hit, pick up a RBI, and go over 1.5. So he needs help from his teammates, whether it be fantasy score, whether it be hits, runs, and RBI. So I like to look at how the team is projecting overall holistically. And in this case, the Detroit Tigers are fine. They're fine. I'm cool with it. So outside of that, let's look at some projections on an individual level here for Riley Green. Not seeing any projections. Let me refresh. Maybe he just wasn't up on the board just yet. Riley Green. There we go. Boom. That's actually a really, really solid projection for Riley Green on the bat. 2.7 projected hits, runs, and RBIs. The line's 1.5. That's more than one hit, run, and RBI higher projection versus line for Riley Green. So I'm cool with Riley Green over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Second projection, RotoWire, 1.87. A lot more conservative, a lot lower for Riley Green. One other thing that I like to look at that the bat provides is you could type in a player's name like Riley Green, and you could see if he is currently kind of in a cold slump or not. He is not. He's got this little cold column right here. If he was cold, there'd be a check mark. He is not considered to be cold based on recent performances. So that's good. I don't like taking the overs on anybody who's currently in the midst of a cold streak or cold slump. So Riley Green, you can stay, bud. And here's the pitcher that Riley Green's going up against, Carson Spires. We talked about him maybe for less than 2.5 earned runs allowed. And it's important to distinguish earned runs allowed because there are times where a team will score a run, but it won't count against the pitcher because it wasn't an earned run. All right, there's a difference between a run and an earned run. And in this case, we're looking at earned runs allowed. Under 2.5, let's run the projections on Spires real quick. Going up against the Tigers, we talked about the Tigers looking like a pretty good stack. Here's a projection for Carson Spires, 2.84. That puts him over 2.5. So I don't like that right off rip. The projection models have him going closer to 3 than 2. Second projection, 1.77. So much like Tanner Bybee when it comes to those hits allowed, these projection models are just not agreeing with one another. I'm going to kick him out which brings us to Aaron Nola at 18.5 pitching outs. Let's go see what Nola's looking like here on the bat. Let's pop this open, type in Aaron Nola's name. We're going to have to go over to pitching outs, or PO. Looks like he's projected for about 17.2 pitching outs, putting him under the 18.5 pitching out marker. Again, he's going against the Braves. So how do the Braves look in terms of an overall offensive stack? They're like right in the middle of the pack. Of the 30 teams on today's MLB slate, they're like right in the middle of the pack offensively. That's what I was saying about the Braves. Literally can be like very hit or miss team. Obviously, they're missing Ronald Acuna at the top of the order. He's been out for a couple months now, I think. Well over a month. Big blow to their lineup. But yeah, as far as where they're projecting today, right in the middle of the pack. Not great, not terrible, mid-tier offense. Let's get a second projection, though, on Aaron Nola real quick. Pitching outs, projected for 16.17. This is RotoWire. Again, they think he's going to go 6 or fewer innings against this Braves team. He is pitching on the road. Chris Raptor said, take a look at Nola's splits. Let's go find Aaron Nola using Outlier. Appreciate Outlier for making this possible. Great toolkit on Outlier for all your player prop research needs. We're going to go look at his 18.5 pitching outs. Where are they at? Not seeing them here. No, let's just click in. We'll find them. There we go. Pitching outs 2024. So here's what he's done. He's averaging about 19 pitching outs per game, which means he's going over 6 innings in most of his starts. All right. But if we're looking at just the away games, things get maybe a little nastier, right? Let's flip this over. We're looking at going under on 18.5. Under on 18.5. He's gone under on 18.5 in 57% of the games that he's played, that he's pitched on the road. Decent for those that care about hit rates. Like I said, hit rates, got to be careful with those. Here's what he's done historically head-to-head against the Atlanta Braves. Check this out for you hit rate lovers out there. You hit rate homeboys and homegirls. He's only lasted 6 or fewer innings. He's lasted 6 or fewer innings in every matchup against the Braves in his last 5 matchups head-to-head against them. So the Braves have done a pretty good job of getting Nola up out of there in their previous head-to-head. In their previous head-to-heads. Now, again, that doesn't matter a whole lot. The lineups have changed. The ballparks are different. There's a lot of different factors that change. So, like, these head-to-head matchups, take them with a grain of salt. But interesting to note that the Braves typically do a good job against Aaron Nola for what it's worth. But, yeah, he's gone under in about 47%. It's about a 50% hit rate prop for those that care about hit rates. As far as the offense for the Braves against right-handed pitching, here's what you're looking at. Pretty piss poor batting average as a team against righties this season. It's gotten even worse over the last 30 games. They're trending in the wrong direction if we're hoping that they beat Aaron Nola up today. 237 average for the season, 212 average for the last 30 games. Their OBP also going in the wrong direction. 30.3% has now become 27.4%. Just all the numbers for the Braves against righties going in the wrong direction, which should help Aaron Nola go further. All right. Not a home run, not a slam dunk. We'll see what happens. Chris Raptor says, with Nola, he can go over 18.5, but you have to believe in Atlanta's offense. I know. And it's hard to believe in Atlanta's offense right now with the way that Atlanta's looking. Not looking great. As someone pointed out, Max Fried has just went from 5.5 down to 5. 5.5 down to 5 on Fried strikeouts. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. We'll revisit Fried. I'm going to leave Nola alone, man. The Braves I don't trust the Braves. I don't trust the Braves. The projection models like Nola under 18.5, but I don't trust the Braves. We'll see what happens. We'll see who the Braves roll out there. I don't think there's an official lineup out yet for the Braves, but I'm going to stay away. So what are we doing with Max Fried then? Now that he's at 5 strikeouts, he was at 5.5. We were thinking about taking the under at 5.5. But now that he's at 5, another one of these props with tie or push potential, 53.7% chance that he lands on 5 or that he could potentially go over 5. So are we going to flip the script on Max Fried and take him over at 5 Ks now? Maybe we do. Where's he at? Let's go look. What were those projections again on Max Fried? 5.1. Let's see. Did RotoWire break here? Yeah, I think they did. That's all right. We'll go with the this view here. Max Fried 4.8 Ks. Yeah, 5 is the more appropriate line. That's definitely a sharper line for Max Fried in the strikeouts. At 5, I would probably just like take the over on Fried and expect a tie or a push. Sucks we couldn't snatch him up at 5.5. I'm guessing that you guys, some of you out there, you guys probably did get Fried at 5.5, took the under at 5.5. Let's see what happens when we set this to, let's go over 4.5. Yeah. The under 5.5 looked pretty darn good. Home games, he's pitched pretty well as far as strikeouts go. 4 out of 6 games at home, he's hit 5 or more Ks. I guess I would lean toward the over at 5 now. I mean, you look at the K percentage. Philly versus lefties over the last 30 days, striking out at a lower rate. Damn, I'm sad. Got to be honest. I'm sad I missed out on the 5.5. The under on 5.5. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do with Fried now at 5. What do you guys think? Sucks. What do you guys think on Fried now? Fade it? Probably a fade. Probably fade it. I know the optimizer's really thinking he lands on at least 5. And maybe he does. Maybe it ties at 5, but ugh. We missed the boat on the under at 5.5, or I did. I missed the boat. Anything else standing out? We may not have enough quality picks here to put together another 4 pick, but we've already dished out like 7 picks. I mean, Pablo Lopez under 5.5 hits allowed is showing up pretty strongly here on the optimizer, decently. We could look into him. I still like Riley Green, by the way. If you haven't used Riley Green over 1.5, that one looked good. We were looking at him for, was that Lopez under 5.5? Yep, under 5.5. Let's check out Pablo. Pablito. Little Pablo, let's see where he's at. 5.3 projected hits allowed going up against the Houston Astros. So 5.3, closer to 5 hits allowed than 6. Not bad. We'll take the 5.3. Projection over on RotoWire's got him at 4.6. So definitely looking more like a lean under on 5.5 hits allowed for Pablo Lopez. So we'll leave him in there. That's cool. There's 2 picks. Yep, Ronnie, Patrick Corbin Ks, I don't know yet, bro. Unless they bumped it down to 3. They haven't. If they bump Patrick Corbin down to 3 Ks, I'm taking the over at 3. Ronnie, if they bump it down Patrick Corbin, that is. If they bump him down to 3Ks, I'll take the over at 3. At 3.5, I don't feel comfortable taking the under. That's just going to be a fade for me. Mark Canha under hits, runs, and RBIs. Let's look. I don't see him on here. Let's see. I mean, he's projected for about 2. Not really seeing any strong stance being taken by the betting community on this line. In other words, the odds aren't really juiced up or juiced down, juiced over or juiced under in this case. 2. He's projected for about 2 hits, runs, and RBIs. If he's available on PrizePicks. I don't even know if he's available on PrizePicks. I didn't see him up there. Let's see. Let's refresh. Yeah, Freed, you're just going to have to stay right there, bud. You're just going to have to stay right there, bud. I'm not going to take you over 5. There's Riley Green. There's Pablo. Let's see. Is there any like real overt threats today for Pablo Lopez versus the Houston Astros? I mean, it's not a cold pitcher matchup per se for Pablo Lopez. He's not on the cold pitcher matchup report, but he's also not on the hot pitcher matchup report. So it's not a slam dunk matchup for Lopez versus Houston. It's also not a real terrible matchup. There's not really anybody under the hot batter matchups for Houston. There's nobody listed here that like completely owns Pablo Lopez either. So maybe that's just due to, lack of data, lack of plate appearances or at bats. Astros projected starters versus Lopez, but I mean, no hot or cold data that's compelling enough for him to make today's batter versus pitcher report. So Lopez, I don't know. Things could go either way. They might bump Patrick Corbin. They just removed him. Yeah, what they might do is just make him a demon or a goblin or something. They do that sometimes. They'll just take a player down completely and just turn him into a demon or goblin. Basically, like, you either take the over or you don't take him at all. Look at me. Corbin. Yeah, that's what they did, I think. Well, there you go. I mean, you could do that. So they got rid of his 3.5 line completely. Like, if you wanted to, you could go goblin on Corbin. Goblin on Corbin at 2.5 is actually not, I mean, that doesn't look terrible. Do you guys like playing goblins? Let me know in the chat. You live viewers here, or let me know in the comment section if you're watching the replay. Do you guys play goblins, or are you just like, nah, man, those payouts stink? Not a fan of the goblins because the payouts stink. Like, what's your take? I don't really mess with the demons, and I don't mess with the goblins a whole lot. Here he is, though. If you're looking for a good goblin play, maybe you are a goblin gobbler. Goblin gobblers out there. Here's a goblin for you on Patrick Corbin's 2.5 goblin line. 3 or more Ks, 82% hit rate. .8 Ks per game. And then you take a look at his home games. The Goblin's looking kind of nice. Goblin's looking decent. Just saying. Over 2.5 Ks for Corbin at home. Hasn't missed yet. 7 for 7 at home. 14 of 17 overall. So if you are a goblin type of guy or gal, Corbin goblin, Not looking too shabby. Yeah. Sometimes, Ronnie, it's just, hey, I need that one more pick. That one pick to complete this entry. Maybe you go Goblin. Patrick Corbin as a Goblin, not looking like a terrible play. So that could be a move. We could add him in there. He could sit as a Goblin. Maybe I will take a Goblin today. Maybe I'm in the mood for some Goblin. Pause. Not that type of Goblin. The PrizePicks type of Goblin. I'm not gobbling glizzies. That was yesterday, 4th of July. All right? We ain't doing no glizzy goblin today. There's a Goblin for you. And Corbin has some nice numbers versus St. Louis per Chris Raptor. Appreciate that. C-Dot coming through with the super chat. Appreciate that. Yeah, we've taken Sonny Gray over 5Ks if you're just getting here. Or if you're looking for another Goblin, Sonny Gray over 3.5 could be another Goblin for you. So maybe you take both pitchers from that game. You go double Goblin. You want to go double Goblin? You can go double Goblin. 3.5 Ks for Gray. That could be another good Goblin for you. Let's look at it real quick. I took him over 5. Could tie, could push. Let's see. Where's he at? Was it 3.5? I mean, damn. My boy has hit 4 or more Ks in every game this season. If you're looking for another Goblin, there's another green Goblin for you. 15 out of 15. Sonny Gray, over 3.5 Ks. I mean, if you like green, that's as green as it gets, right? That's a green Goblin right there. What do you think about that? The Goblin fanatics out there. What would we get on this slip? If we risk 10, we'd get what? A 4-pick power play would get us 4.5x. Ugh. Well, actually, you know what? I mean, it is a protected play, right? I could use my $5. Whoopee! My $5 protected play. Woohoo! My $5 protected play, and we could go with that if we wanted to. Couple of Goblins. Pablo Lopez under hits allowed. Riley Green over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. You know what? Let's just do it. It's $5, man. What are we doing here? It's $5. There you go. There you go. Couple of Goblins. We'll sprinkle in a couple of Goblins with my $5 protected play. Gray is 1 out of 2 over 3.5 Ks versus Washington in his last 2 matchups. Hey, that was then. Hopefully today he finds 4 Ks. We'll see, though. We'll see. We know nothing's guaranteed. Nothing's a lot. Patrick Corbin outs. Let's run it real quick, and then we'll get you guys up out of here. And then we'll do a recap of everything that we talked about real quick. Patrick Corbin for pitching outs. Less or more, C-Dot? Less or more. Last 5 games, been a mixed bag. 21 pitching outs against the Padres, 18 pitching outs against the Rays. So what we're saying here at 16.5 pitching outs is we expect this guy to get through 5 innings, which is never a guarantee with Patrick Corbin, by the way. We expect him to get through 5. That'd be 15 pitching outs. Then we would need him to get 2 guys out in the 6th inning to clear the 16.5 pitching outs. And you can see he's got a couple of games in there against New York, the Mets, against the Detroit Tigers, where he gets pulled at 16 pitching outs. So he gets through 5, hits a wall in the 6th inning, gets pulled at 16 pitching outs. So Corbin pitches better at night than day. Well, today he's pitching at night. In approximately 6 hours, he'll be taking the mound. So maybe the nighttime is the right time. Here we go. Let's look at this one a little closer here. Patty C. Patrick Corbin going up against St. Louis. Let me just see where the optimizer has this dude. Patrick Corbin, pitching outs. 51.7% chance that he goes over 16.5. Now, you are getting some good juice at 16.5 on Pinnacle. Minus 133 betting favor to go over at 16.5 on Pinnacle. That's always good. When Pinnacle has good juice, good odds, that should make you feel a little bit more confident in taking the over or the under, respectively. He's even as high as 17.5 pitching outs on FanDuel, 16.5 on some of these other books and sites. So the lean would be toward the over at 16.5. So that means he would get into the 6th inning. He would get at least 2 hitters out, and then he would get the hook and get up out of the game. So you need him to go get through almost 16 innings. Not quite 16 innings. 15 and some change. 15.2 innings you need him to get through. Or 5.2 innings, rather, you want him to get through. There you go. So that's how things are kind of shaping up for Corbin here. As far as a projection on Patrick Corbin, let's take a look at a couple of different projections on his pitching outs. Here's a projection of right about 15.9. This is the bat that has him at 15.9. So the bat thinks he gets through at least 5 innings. Maybe he gets one guy out in the 6th inning, and then he gets pulled. That's kind of what it's insinuating here based on the projection of about 15.9. Second projection on Corbin. Let's see. Let's go RotoWire for this one. RotoWire's got Patrick Corbin sitting at 4.8 innings pitched. So we round that up to 5 innings pitched. 3 outs per inning. 3 times 5 would be 15 pitching outs, putting him under 16.5. So just based on the projections alone, they've got him projected for less than 16.5 pitching outs. Do I trust Patrick Corbin? I don't. I don't trust Patrick Corbin very much. Not a good pitcher. He's just not. Let's see, though, because the Cardinals aren't exactly a scary team offensively either. So we're going to the outs. Over 16.5, 59% hit rate. Over more often than under. Now, what about at home? 57% hit rate at home. 4 out of 7 times he's gone over 16.5 pitching outs. So, it really feels like it could go either way. The numbers here for the Cardinals against lefties have improved. I think we talked about that earlier. Lefties have improved the Cardinals have improved versus lefties over the last 30 days compared to their numbers for the season. So the batting average has come up from 217 to 237. The OBP about the same, 281, now 280. OPS also about the same, 614, not 615. But they've improved. And Corbin's just not a great pitcher. So, I don't know. I'm probably leaving that one alone, man. Armando says, if you don't know, just fade it. Well, the thing is, Armando, none of us know. We are trying to guess using historical data, using projections for today. None of us really know anything with certainty of what's going to happen today. So, but yeah, I'm going to leave Corbin alone. I just don't trust the guy. So I think with that being said, let's do a recap of like the picks that we did talk about and we did actually put money on. Money talks, right? Here's a little protected play. Now listen, come on now. They turned Riley Green into a goblin. When did that happen? I think we saw me submit the lineup. Riley Green was not a goblin a minute ago. Now that I've submitted this entry and I can't refund it, Riley Green turned into a goblin. What's up with that? He was not a goblin when I hit enter, when I hit submit earlier. Those of you who are watching, I think you can vouch for that. Was not a goblin, but now is. Ain't that some bullshit? What? Whatever. It's in there now. The ink has dried on that slip, so I can't do nothing about it other than maybe contact support. They definitely pulled a switcheroo on me, right? Dude was not a goblin. He was not a goblin when I hit submit. Anyway, we have him going over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Pablo Lopez under 5.5 hits allowed. We took Corbin and Gray. Goblins. Now we got 3 goblins. And then earlier we took Severino, Castillo, and Gray all over strikeouts. Bobby Witt Jr. over hitter fantasy score. And then this was an earlier entry that I dropped off in Dub Club. Skeens under 8 Ks. Michael Busch for under a walk. O'Neill's no longer on Prize Picks, but maybe you can find us somewhere else for under a walk. And Nico Herner for less than 1.5 total bases. But there you go. There's the recap. I don't know how Riley Green got turned into a goblin, but I sure didn't do that. He wasn't a goblin before. Oh, wait. Dang. Okay. Prize Picks. They just check your Prize Picks account. I just got blessed with some promo credits. Did you guys get any promo? Check your Prize Picks promo account balance. Check your balance on your promo. I just got airdropped some promo credits. Let me know if you got any promo credits. But with that being said, we'll catch you in the next live stream. Good luck on all your picks, plays, and parlays. And again, if you guys want to join Dub Club and get access to even more picks, plays, parlays, stats, information, I've left a link for you in the live chat. Check it out. 67 cents per day, 3-day free trial. Catch you guys in the next one real soon, okay? Peace.